So for this video, I wanted to actually go into a little bit of detail on GitHub and how you can use that with this project. So work in progress code is always going to be going to GitHub first before it will ever arrive in the asset store. The asset store is the code that has been tested quite a bit, and it has gone through many iterations of code. Now, that doesn't mean every tiny little thing's going to be caught before it goes to the asset store, but I try my best. So if you want to be part of that testing and get that work in progress code, you have to first contact me on Discord. So if I just pull up Discord here, so here's Discord, and you can see if I come over here to task list, it'll say, hey, you need to send me a direct message with your invoice number and the email that you have a GitHub account with. So GitHub, it's a Git repository, and it's free to make an account with. But let's first get your invoice number here. So if I open up the asset store for me, we'll get that real quick. Let's sign in here. Okay, so I'm signed in. So now the very first thing to do is when you're on the asset store is click on your user account and go down to my orders. So I'm going to go ahead and gray this out. But you can see here it has a list of the order ID and the invoice number. So what you can do is you can basically just copy this invoice number, and you can come back over here to Discord and you can send me a direct message. And basically you need to send me the email account that you have a GitHub account with, and this invoice number. I will verify your invoice number, and if I'm able to verify that correctly, I will invite you to my private GitHub repository. So let's go ahead and, without further ado, look at that GitHub repository. So here we are in the GitHub repository, and there's a couple of things that you can do here to make your life easy. But let's first talk about maybe I just released a hotfix, and that's actually something I just did a couple of hours ago. And if we look at that on Discord, I'll make an announcement here. It says, hey, I just pushed something to this branch. It'll fix this thing, and it's for this particular script. So let's get that script into the project. So the easiest thing to do is obviously just click on this. You'll see it has version 4.4.8 in here in the link. So if we click that, we don't see that. That's interesting. Let's copy this over to this other browser. There we go. Okay, it didn't, I guess be aware of that. I wasn't signed in on the other browser. So anyway, you'll see that it opens up to the 4.4.8 branch. It's the most bleeding edge here. And this particular hotfix is for the shooter weapon, which is part of the shooter add-on. And any add-on, those files are always going to come commented out. So if it's not a core file and it's specific to a particular add-on, those are enabled by the user. So just be aware of that. So the easiest thing we're going to do here is I'm going to click raw. So with this open here, just click Control A to highlight everything and Control C to copy. And let's go ahead and find this file. And so it's in the scripts, objects, shooter, multiplayer shooter weapon. So if I come over to here to Invector multiplayer, scripts, objects, shooter, multiplayer shooter weapon. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I'll Control A, Control V, and you'll see it comes commented out. So I actually have the add-on disabled right now, but for most of you, the add-on's already going to be enabled. So you're going to want to just simply remove these lines. These just make the file be commented out or not. So I'm going to put that back to the way it was. So that's one way you can get an individual file and paste that into your project that way. And you'll be able to grab individual pieces of code and add it in there. So let's say I'm actually on version 4.4.6, and I actually want to import a different version into my project. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to switch over to the branch I want to download, and we're going to click here to download the zip. Now, if you can also clone the repository locally and do it that way, but I'm just going to go ahead and download this zip. Okay, I'm going to download it to my saves here, show it in the folder, and this is roughly about 54, 55 megabytes. So just have to wait for that to finish downloading. Okay, so apparently I was off. It was closer to 60. Okay, so let's open this back up and let's extract the files here. And you'll see that it names it according to the repository here and the branch that you downloaded. So you're actually going to, before importing it into your project, let's rename this to Invector Multiplayer, because part of the automation requires that Invector Multiplayer is the name of the folder. So let's actually go back into here and show an Explorer. And you can do one of two things. You can either delete this directory altogether, or you can come into here and you can merge files. So I can come into here, highlight everything, say paste. So I'm not actually gonna replace anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this, and I'm gonna go ahead and delete this README and this git ignore. But that's how you can grab a particular branch and place it into your project. Now let's say I've actually modified a file here and I want to see what modifications have been made from one release to another release. So let's hop back over to GitHub. And in here, there is this compare button. So let's go ahead and click compare. So here we can say, I want to compare branch 4.4.8 to the master branch, or I can say, let's do to 4.4.6. And you'll see all the commits that I've done since then to this, and you can look at the files changed, and you'll see there's pretty much every file touched. So let's go to something that's smaller, like this one. So this is that hotfix, and it says removed overriding protected values. And since there's not so many, it's just going to show me the file. And it says, hey, this is the one file that's been changed. And these little minus boxes and the red here means this is the original file, and this is what it's going to become. And you'll see I just simply removed these 3 lines between these 2 releases. So you can either do that yourself, or you can grab the individual files. And so you can kind of do the same thing with comparing a different branch. I can come back over here to 447 and go back to 446, and it's going to be quite a bit because I added a lot of documentation to the files between those. But then I can go back into the files changed, and you can go file by file, and you can see the green boxes means I've added things, red boxes means I've removed things, and then you can load the difference between the files, and you can see the comments that I've made it on each one, and you can actually click into these and see the individual changes that I made with that particular commit. And so hopefully that is helpful to you. The other thing I would suggest is anyone that has access to this repository, you can hop over here to the Issues tab, and you can see the number of issues that I'm currently working on, labeled if they're bugs or enhancements or documentation. I'd encourage you to hop over to here and maybe contribute. And so let's talk about contributing. So the very first thing you're going to do is when you contribute is you need to clone this repository. And you can either do that by forking it, which is actually something that you're going to need to do. So if you come over here to fork it, it's going to make your own version of the GitHub repository under your account. It's still going to be private, and you're not allowed to make that public, especially according to this legal document at the bottom. And what you're going to do is you're going to make your modifications in your branch, and then you're going to come back over to here, and you're going to say pull requests, and you're going to say new pull request. And then you can do your own personal branch, and you can say, I want to pull this into, the master branch, which is anything on the master branch is currently what is in the asset store. Or even better, as you'd find the absolute most recent branch here, and you'll say, hey, I want to do what I was working on and pull it into here. And you can say create pull request. And then what that's going to do, it's going to notify me saying, hey, somebody has created a pull request. I will review it. I will ask you to make a few changes here and there if you need to. And if you don't, then I'll go ahead and merge that directly in. And that's a lot easier than just coming over here to Discord and dropping raw files to me. Because what that does is that dumps all the work into my lap, saying, hey, I've made changes. Well, now it's up to me to run that diff and figure out what it is. Is this going to be suitable? Whereas if you do it all through GitHub, you should be able to have that diff just automatically generated for you. It will merge files in nicely, and I don't have to do that manually. So I'd encourage you to do that. If you have any questions about this, feel free to send me a message on Discord, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thanks. Bye.